So you've probably already noticed that Legend, our Squib, has got a rather funky paint job. So before we go racing, let's explain how that came about.
So you can't really see this very well, but I've sanded down the top sides, filled in all the little imperfections. Well, not all, the worst of the imperfections. Same with underneath. It's obviously been faired at some point in this past, and some of the fairing compound has kind of chipped or come off, or so there's bits of lumps. So it's been I've kind of re-faired the bits that have come off. It's hardly perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. So all that needs doing anyway. So the idea is that we're going to try and cover it in vinyl wrap it. If it works, it should be simpler and cheaper than painting it by the side of our house and the windy stuff with all the leaves and all the muck that's flying around. And if it doesn't work, worst case is I have to do all this anyway, so I can then peel the wrap off and paint it anyway. But we'll give it a go. It's only going to be some cheap vinyl off eBay, so it could be a complete disaster. But equally, you don't want to spend a lot when you've never done this before, do you? So we'll see.
So we learnt a lot from wrapping this first boat. Firstly, our choice of a camouflage design was a good one, because as much as I'd sanded and faired in those imperfections, you could still see them through the vinyl. It really does hug every small spot. The next thing was, all the clips you see on YouTube of people wrapping cars, etc., show them stretching the vinyl to make it fit the shape. And this no doubt works well on small shapes, but when you've got something the size of a boat, you really can't stretch it that much. So what was more important for me was the ability to shrink the vinyl with a heat gun. When you soften the vinyl, obviously if you pull it, it will stretch easily, but if you don't pull it, it shrinks just a bit, which you can use to your advantage to help it conform to the shape of the boat. This also brings up the subject of the vinyl itself. The black vinyl we put on the back was clearly cheap stuff and was really fragile and didn't really respond very well to the heat, whereas the stuff on the sides, which was a 1.5 metre strip of vinyl cut in half, so I had a bit for both sides, was brilliant. Really tough, that bit thicker, super sticky, and would really respond well to the heat gun. Another thing worth remembering is that vinyl is pressure sensitive. It'll stick to anything, but until you press it down, it's not stuck firm. So though you see it stuck to the hull as I'm working it down, it's not stuck firm, and I can easily pull it back off again and keep readjusting it. But once it's squeegeed into position, it's there for life. Anyway, let's finish the drive and put some anti-fouling on it to go sailing.
Well, hello. Today is the first day we're going to race Legend. We've been working really hard on her over the last couple of months, and we've brought her down to Medway Yacht Club and we're going to race her. Don't expect a lot. She's got 30-year-old sails. We haven't got around to replacing those yet. We just want to really see what works, what doesn't, so Ian can work on it over the winter. Is the plan, Batman? Shall I show you her?
So there's very little wind, 1 or 2 knots. We've stayed on the north shore of the river because there's meant to be some south in the wind and there'll be a big wind shadow over there, but the 2 boats that are sneaking down out the tide over there are doing much better. So that's a bit frustrating at the moment. And our pole fell apart at the start, which made the start hard work. But it's all right.
Is it?
We're kind of, well, we 4th out of 8 or 9 mid-fleet. There's us and the black something, I can't remember. We've got to learn the names of all the boats, haven't we? There's us and one other boat on this side of the river. Everyone else is tending to favour the south shore, which kind of makes sense because the people over there are doing well. So.
We are the
But anyway, our time will come, because when they get to the corner, they'll get a rush of tide and they'll have no wind around the big buildings. So as long as we can hang with them, we can go around the outside of the wind, the bend, and catch them all up.
Let's see if that works, shall we?
That's the plan anyway. So the course has changed. We're still going down river, but there's a lot more points in between. I guess so the race committee can shorten it if need be, but it'd be to the frustration of everyone that was on the south shore, because it made us go around 31, which is on the north shore. Although I think it did them a favour, because they were going to sail into the wind shadow around these houses, and they jibing over to here meant they didn't do that. What it did mean is any disadvantage we had from being on the north shore was offset, so we did all right out of that, and we are actually coming up on them now.
So we went round the second mark in second place, woohoo! But look, they're right hot on our heels. It's actually very intensive racing. Look, mobiles causing wash. There is our leader. One's dropped too. Do they know that we don't know? The wind stopped again. We've just gone round 26 and my brain's gone a bit duh. And yeah, it's all dropped right off again. It felt nice for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, that's all. Anyway, we are still second, and the other one's still miles ahead.
So at this point, a couple of things happened that helped us. Firstly, there was a large ship coming up the river that stopped anyone from tacking and heading across the deep water channel to the next mark. Secondly, the reason the wind was so light was that there was a weak sea breeze starting to form. Just as we were starting to approach the ley line, I'm looking around thinking now's the time to go, because if the sea breeze comes in, it was only going to move further east and would hopefully lift us to the mark. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So we hit the ley line perfectly. It meant Sandy Cheeks, that was miles ahead at that point, ended up footing off to get to the mark. But of course they couldn't have tacked any earlier because of the big ship. So I feel for them, but it all worked out for us all right.
The tide will push us down past it though, won't it? Or we could eat. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks to the wonders of editing, this all looks like it's going really smoothly, doesn't it? But our hoist drops and jibes left an awful lot to be desired. Take this one for example. Because of the light winds, the spinnaker went straight up, so I hoisted it straight into the spreaders where it got tangled up. So I pulled it down and pulled it back up again, only to find that somehow I'd clipped the pole onto the wrong sheet. Definitely room for improvement. Things are getting tense. We've caught Sandy Cheeks up.
Getting hot because I've got too many clothes on. Gonna sail through Medway Scum. It's the contents of Who Marina. Who, probably.
So we're heading down towards Wilsonians, where we turn left and go down Heartbreak Reach. We're staying on the right because we think there's a bit more wind, and because of course we're sailing over the top of Sandy Cheeks, but then they do have the inside advantage at the next turn, so we shall see.
And that's pretty much it. We managed to get round the final corner in the river in front of Sandy Cheeks, and because the wind was now due east, there weren't really many passing opportunities for them. Worth pointing out, of course, that we started at this point in the river when the wind was due west, so although there wasn't much wind, a lot did happen. I think the biggest lesson from this race was the fact that us and Sandy Cheeks only launched Friday night. In this light fluky wind, that's a big advantage against the fleet that's been sitting on the mooring for probably several weeks before being scrubbed off.